Thank you everyone for being on, and I apologize for giving you the wrong Zoom link. Oops. Just glad you're here. You're watching this in our Facebook group or, later. We're so honored. My aunt and pioneer in naturopathic homeopathic medicine, Sheila Dunn-Merritt, did an amazing segment for us on gut health in our 2-week retreat. And we weren't done yet with her. So we want a little bit more. So this is a part 2. We are going to do some Q&A, and Sheila's also going to talk about some hot topics like how stress affects us in our gut and all of so many interesting things. So thank you for being here with us for the next 20, 25 minutes or so. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Sheila. Thank you so much.
Hi, good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are. I hope everyone's doing really well. I'm happy to be here and support Renee and her team and group. So I was thinking a lot about where to go from here. And so I'm going to take maybe 5-10 minutes with this. When we're talking about gut health, I really want to look at healing from within. Okay, so we're just taking it not directly what you put in your gut and what comes out, but healing from within. We all have the capacity to do that, and it requires some attention and awareness and some knowledge. So the reason why we focus on the gut is because the gut is the intermediary. There's a GI brain connection. So what you're taking into your body will affect further upstream your cognitive ability, how you think. You see children with ADD or adults with ADD, that can be related to what's been happening in the gut. So if you're really going to do, say, a detox, or as I call it, a detoxification, detoxifying from the world around you, it's not just what you're taking in from your food, but it's what you're taking in from what you're visually seeing, like bad news, or hearing. It's what you're drinking, it's how you're breathing, it's what you're touching. All of those aspects, we are what we drink, what we eat, what we breathe, what we touch, what we think and see, and don't eliminate. That's who we are. So elimination is key. So the issue that I would say most people have is that stress, whether it's what you're thinking or driving and having to do 3 things, the world that we live in, there's stress, and that stress affects your gut. It affects your brain. It's not just like a momentary thing. There are consequences downstream, and it affects the gut. So if you're wanting to take a detoxification, or if you're wanting to heal from within and really work toward gut health and youth, anti-aging, it's not just in the skin, it's internal, then you have to include the gut. And to include the gut, you have to include the stress that you're under. So, and it's a challenge. In some ways, it's less of a challenge now because we're not as busy. But for some people, not being busy is stressful too. So what I am inviting you to do in terms of healing from within is taking a pause, giving yourself an inventory on where you're finding stress in your life, where your body holds stress. And then in terms of how you can reduce that stress, what you take in through your mouth can help to, shall I say, reduce the impact of the stress. So eating. When you get up in the morning and you're going to start your day, usually it's ideal from a Western or an Eastern Ayurvedic. They say it starts with fluids. It's not solids. So having either warm lemon water, usually ice isn't, they don't like, it's not ideal to use ice waters because it's too cooling for the gastrointestinal tract. Protein drink is a beautiful way to ease your system, to gently invite your body to take in the nutrients it needs without having to work too hard. I enjoy using a protein drink. I'm really wild for the strawberry Arbonne protein powder. My husband is into it now. It's amazing. And I just hope that they bring it back. Along with that, using, and I'm not saying this because it's Arbonne, I'm saying this because I love it, is the Digestive Plus packet. I mix one of those with a fizz and I put it in like 32 ounces, 28 ounces of water. And that's my first water of the day. I try to get that until mid-morning to help with elimination, detoxification, and gut health. If you want in the protein drink, you could always add some greens. Anytime you are alkalinizing, that is ideal for your gut. And what I mean by alkalinizing is bringing in substances into your body that are not causing an inflammatory response. Cortisol inflames, stress inflames, yelling at your kids inflame, yelling at the car in front of you inflames, thinking I have so much to do, my bandwidth, I can't take it anymore, inflames. And your body doesn't know the difference, okay? So I know that you're exercising a lot on this private Zoom, and that's great because that deflames. Well, alkalinizing also deflames. Lemon water will deflame. Using a little bit of apple cider vinegar in your water or on your salad, that helps to deflame. Greens across the board, greens, that deflames. Coffee, which we love here in Seattle, is much more acidic, so that tends to inflame, causing the tissues to be more rigid and not get the blood flow through in a easy manner. So that's another thing to consider is I'm running around this conversation, please excuse me, but just trying to hit some highlights. So reducing stress, using foods that are anti-inflammatory, both in terms of non-acidic, but also using foods that are not hypoallergenic, that are more hypoallergenic. Foods that tend to be allergenic, we've got the list. If you don't know the list, look at part 1. There's a list of foods that are highly allergic. And just giving yourself a week, give yourself a 30-day of reducing inflammation, increasing alkaline foods, and reducing your stressors with exercise, you'll feel the difference. You can't not feel the difference. So that's all I really wanted to encourage you today. I'm open to hearing any questions you might have or any thoughts you might have.
Sheila, first of all, I love everything. And every time I hear you speak, I'm like, I can't believe she's my aunt. She's so amazing. One thing I want to mention, you talked about stressors, and I know it does really cortisol affects weight management. I'd like for you to speak on that. And before you do that too, with just stressors in the world, I was just sharing this with someone. I learned about it yesterday and I wanted to pass it along. Has anyone felt like just anxious lately at all, or just stressed and you're just like having that day? That was me yesterday. It was just a day. I didn't have a good one. Things are bugging me. And I learned about something I was in a meeting with, and someone brought this up. it's something called event box. So you would like draw a square like this. I'll show you. Just thought, since we were talking about stressors, like you draw a box on a piece of paper and you start writing everything that's driving you crazy. It could be anything, the world, an experience with someone, like whatever. You just keep writing, 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 writing. You write over it. You keep writing. By the time you're done with it, you've released the stress. And the thing is, if you keep talking about what's stressing you out, it becomes this loop that it's like this emotional loop that you keep reliving and reliving and reliving. A lot of people are talking about that with what's going on in the world. If you keep talking and talking and talking and talking, it doesn't actually serve you. I practice it. So I was just writing all the things. And then like I was done. I left my box. It was really helpful. And I wanted to pass that along because stress has to do with your health so much. So anyway, but Sheila, can you talk to us
I
about
love that.
that's super
I
important.
love that, Renee. So leave it in the box.
Leave it in the
Leave
box.
it in the box. Write it in red, write it in black, scream it in the box, and leave it in the box.
Yeah.
Let it go. I love that. Okay, so remember there's the gut-brain connection. So if your brain or your adrenals in this case, which sit right above the kidneys, are experiencing stress, whether it's perceived or real, meaning you just got in a car accident and you're feeling it in your body, or God forbid, or you're thinking about how much money you have in the bank, or where what's happening in your work. Perceived or real, your body experiences it. And one of the things it does is your body releases hormones, cortisol being the main hormone, to deal with that stress. And if you don't run or exercise it out, that cortisol has a whole host of downstream chemical reactions that actually put more fat into your tissues to protect you for the perceived or real threat. So increasing stress increases weight. That's as simple as it gets, okay? So if you're wanting to be the ideal weight, one of the things that you can do is to obviously exercise, but not just you're exercising to reduce the stress. You can over-exercise, and that creates more stress. So you've got to really work toward finding what is the appropriate balance for you. Moving more on a daily basis is actually just ideal.
Sheila, you've talked to me about that adrenal fatigue from overdoing it, trying to be the 5 a.m. club and work out hard every day. I would push myself. And I remember you've said to me, now I understand it and I can recognize it, adrenal fatigue, where we overdo. You can overdo everything good also. You can overdo good foods. You could overdo exercise where you end up hurting yourself or causing this. So you've really reminded me of that. So thank you.
Yeah.
What other questions? We have a few minutes. Does anyone have anything specific they'd wanted to ask Sheila?
What would be some signs of like adrenal fatigue?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. It's a great question. And as Renee was talking, I was thinking, oh, right, it's not just stress, it's also sleep. Getting the appropriate sleep. With adrenal fatigue, there's phases of adrenal fatigue. The first phase of adrenal fatigue, you may just like wake up in the morning and be tired, be tired. So your sleep has somehow been off. Some people get up and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, exhausted. They're exhausted. If they're needing to drink lots of coffee, that's another one. For some people with adrenal fatigue, there can be immune issues. So dark circles under the eyes, which can be sleep, but you'll see it in children, dark circles under the eyes. That is a sign of allergic tendencies, and the adrenals can be involved in that too.
Okay.
Great question.
Interesting.
I a question. Can you guys hear me okay? Because I know my internet may be a little spotty.
Yeah, sure.
Dr. Sheila, where could you start with, is there a specific test that you recommend on, allergenic foods? If you're feeling like you're,
so what I'm hearing,
I have
the question
stomach
is,
issues since I was young.
so the question I'm hearing is, what kind of a test would you do to see if you're allergic to any food? Is that your question?
Yeah.
Okay. There's
Yes.
there's three tests that I know of. The first one is actually the best, and that is truly doing an elimination diet that Arbonne suggests doing, where you go off of most allergenic foods and eat a very, very clean diet. I can go into more detail about that. And then after symptoms start to relieve, which could be bloating, gas, fatigue, eczema, irritability, a brain fog, okay, joint pain. And then after the symptoms are gone, it can take up to a month. And this is why people don't like doing this test, because you really have to be diligent and aware. Then you start reintroducing the foods one at a time over the course of a couple of weeks. I used to take people on these cleanses. As a group, we would do it. And for me, I was shocked that I found out corn. I would get exhausted when I would eat corn. It's weird. Popcorn. It was just weird. So that's test number one. Test number two is a blood test. Standard doctors do this test. It's an IgE, and that I don't recommend. Immunoglobulin found in the blood.
You're frozen.
Most people don't have IgG allergy. I'm frozen?
Oh, now you're good. Yeah, you're good now. You're good. Okay.
The other test that I recommend, it's a very easy test. It's a blood test. It's called IgE. You can get that test through most doctors that are holistic. It's tests about 100 foods. The thing is that you've had to have eaten that food within about 30 days before you'll know whether the test is true or not. Long answer. Hope I answered it for you.
No, that's great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can send a link to Renee for some companies that sell these. It's a kit, and you take the kit to the blood drawing center, and they'll draw it for you and send it off. It's a couple $100. And your allergies can change. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Your food allergies can change. Usually, if you eat the food a lot, you can become allergic to it. So like if I eat eggs every morning, after a while, you can actually become allergic to it, know it. It's not necessarily stomach or diarrhea. It could be irritable, foggy thinking, joint pain. It could be something that you don't really think is related to an allergy, but it's an immune response.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any other questions?
I'm going to tell a story.
Okay, why don't you finish with a story, Shishi?
I'm going to finish with a story. Okay. So I was in naturopathic medical school at the time, and this was a long time ago, and a doctor came in to teach, and he showed us a video, and it was of a kid who was in detention. And the doctor and the kid were talking, and he was about 14 years old. They were having a conversation. The child was completely cognizant, normal, answering questions, nice guy. Then the doctor gave the kid an orange because he knew he was allergic to oranges and he wanted to demonstrate. Okay. He gave the kid the orange. The kid started eating the orange. Before he was done eating the orange, he got really silly at first, started giggling. It was like he was on drugs. And before the end of the orange, he was throwing the chair and going into a full-blown rage from an orange. And if I hadn't seen it, I would never have believed it. And that was considered an allergy, okay, to an orange. So if you're finding your children or yourself having some very difficult symptoms that you're trying to treat with a drug, you might want to consider looking at your diet because there's a big, strong brain-gut connection.
Thank you. You are amazing. Amazing, amazing.
Love you.
Support
Thank you.
so
My
much
pleasure.
of the holistic approach that we take. Oh, Sheila, thank you for your time. I know you've a lot going on and you've blessed us so much with so much knowledge.
Healing from within. Just remember, you can heal from within, and that's the only place you can heal from.
Thank you.
I love you guys.
We thank you
Okay.
so much.
Bye. We'll see you again. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.